And so we're continuing the multi-view sketching with the next activity. So as you're wrapping up the glass box activity, we're going to have more chance to practice doing the multi-view sketching. So I want to go through each of the different parts of this activity so that you're clear about what the expectations are. Starting with number one, what we have here are the top, the front, and the right view of this object here. And each of the surfaces of this object have been identified with a letter. And then there's a corresponding number on each of the views here. And the idea is that for each letter, you will identify which number corresponds on the appropriate view. So if we look at the example, letter A, which is located here, this surface here, from the top view, meaning looking down on the object, is surface number 9. So I write the 9 in. Letter A, looking from the front, looking from this direction, I can't actually see that surface, but I have the 3 identifying the top that can't be seen from here. So I'll write in the 3, and then for the side view or for the right, it's 21 to identify that surface. So you'll just repeat the process for each of the letters. So I would go on to B, okay, see where B is, what's B on the top view, what's B on the right view, and what's B on the front view. You don't need to recreate this drawing, but I would just draw this table in your notebook so that you can fill the information in. The next couple, starting here, you have an object given. The goal is for you to identify the best front view of that object and to sketch that out. So sketch what you would think would be the best front view. We want to identify the minimum number of views needed for this object. In the PowerPoint that we did with the glass box, we talked about scenarios where you would have a 1-view drawing and scenarios for a 2-view drawing. So it's that criteria that we're looking at to identify whether or not this falls either of those categories. So I put the minimum number of views needed. Is it 1 view? Is it 2? Is it 3? And if it's more than 1, what additional views? So you drew the front view, what other views would you need? Would it be a top view? Would it be a right view for that object? So that process will get repeated for each of the objects here. Again, sketching the front view, identifying the total number of views for the object as a minimum, and then which additional view that you would add to that drawing. Then we're going to practice setting up the appropriate orientation of multi-view drawings for the object given. So our isometric view is of the object that we're going to draw. I can use the grid here to determine the size of the object and then draw that in my notebook. So the top view on top, the front view below that, and then the right view to the right of that. I would use the grid to count to determine the size as you draw. Okay, but make sure the layout is appropriate as far as the order and that the views line up with each other. If you want to turn your notebook to the side so that it's in a landscape, you can do that as well. You're not responsible for drawing the isometric view, just the 3 views here. So that gets repeated for number 3, number 4, and then number 5. And then finally, I have 3 objects that have to be drawn in the notebook. There is a size or a measurement given for each size, but what we can do is just set, for this first drawing, 1 grid space can represent 0.5 centimeter. And then you would draw this object as a multi-view, top, front, right view with the appropriate, scale. So each box, in this case, is 0.5 centimeter. I can count to determine the size. It does say in the direction that for these, draw the minimum number of views. So if you feel like this meets the criteria for a 2-view drawing, then draw the appropriate 2 views for that object. You don't have to add the dimensions to the drawing. We're just doing the multi-views, and the dimensions are given here to determine the size as you're creating that. So these 3 will also go in the notebook. And then finally, there are 5 conclusion questions that I'm going to have you guys answer either in the notebook itself, or you can do it on the Word document and submit that. So all of this work needs to be submitted on the LMS for activity 2.4 multi-view sketching.